Welcome to the Freedom Founder Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Duggar. Now, if you have ever had any income, you've had to pay taxes. Wouldn't it be nice to not have to pay as many taxes on some of that money that you've earned or from that big sale of a corporation or something that you've started? Well, we're going to get into some of those strategies today with our guest, Sally, and we'll get into that conversation after we talk a little bit about some of her history and how she got to where she is today. So, Sally, thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you, Zach. This is the first time I'm going live on Facebook, so thank you for setting this up for me. It's a little bit
Of course.
nerve-wracking.
Of course. No, not a problem at all. It's actually kind of fun and enjoyable. So, we'll make it that way.
Excellent.
um, so, let me start just by asking in regards to your entrepreneurial journey, we all have a start in some point.
Yes.
But going back even before that, what was your essential career path that you had engaged on as you got into the workforce as an adult?
True story. Back when I was 5 years old, I asked my mom to borrow $10 to buy a lemonade stand from the back of the magazine. My
Okay.
mom, I don't know if you're younger than I am, but you had these bank books. She
Hmm.
actually wrote down $10. She charged me for the sugar, everything else. We were living in Pittsburgh, right next to Three Rivers Stadium.
Okay.
They wouldn't let me sell the lemonade in the townhouses because then other people could sell things. I
Okay.
don't know what happened. I don't know. My next door neighbor was not mean Joe Green, but he was Joe Green from the Pittsburgh Steelers. And
Okay.
my older brother went to school that where at the time, oh, I just forgot his name. The owner
Uh-huh.
of the Pittsburgh Steelers gave a lot of money to. His children had gone to the
Okay.
school. He
Okay.
came he came to the door, knocked on the door, and said, "Can your daughter come sell lemonade to my players after practice on Saturday?" My
Okay.
grandfather, who lived in Pittsburgh, all over it. He's like, "I'm going." This is just before they won the Super Bowl in 1972. I'm 5 years old.
Right.
So my next door neighbor, Joe Green, he was a defensive back. I don't mean to say this rudely. He was the first black man I ever met. He
Okay.
was 6'8",
Hmm. Wow.
huge, deep voice. He was scary, but the nicest man ever.
Yeah.
He made all the players come over, buy lemonade. But I had to pay my brother $5 to work with me. Everything else, after
Yeah.
everything was done, I made $168, and they told me I could come back the next Saturday. Put,
Okay.
put the lemonade stand into the shed at the back of our yard. It was June 1972.
Yeah.
Hurricane Agnes came up the Ohio River, flooded everything. The lemonade
Oh,
stand completely destroyed. And I can remember my mom saying to me, because I'm crying because my lemonade stand's
hmm.
not working anymore. She goes, "You made enough." And I
Oh,
remember saying to her, "I have never made enough." And
uh-huh.
it's a joke in my family that I refuse $168 at five. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, what a foundation to have started in that and then being invited to come and sell lemonade to the
Mr.
Pittsburgh
Rooney, I don't know
Steelers.
how he knew about it. He knocked on the door. My mom's from Ireland. He knocked on the
Yeah.
door and he goes, "Do you know who I am?" And she goes, "No." He goes, "You're the only person in Pittsburgh who does not know who I am."
Oh,
My grandfather heard, but it's my mom's father-in-law.
yeah.
He's just like,
Yeah.
"How do you not know the Rooneys?" And my mom's like, "I don't even know what football is." So
Yeah, right. Wow, that's incredible. So, unfortunately, you had to cut that business a little short due to weather-related events, and at
exactly.
the time, you're not able to really do some of that on your own. You had to rely on parents to help out and get some of that initial investment into it, but as very much a success. So your journey started at the age of 5 with
Correct.
that business. Now, where
Correct.
did it take you from there?
Another story about my mom. My nephew got married in just outside of Charlotte, October 28th, 2020.
Uh-huh.
My parents drove from Goodyear, Arizona. It's about 20 miles west of Phoenix. And on the way, she got sick. Unfortunately, she got septic of the blood, and she was on a ventilator for 13 months, in the hospital for 18 months. She got better and came
Okay.
home, so that's a good thing. I flew out for the wedding, had to go back. I was working as a Medicare broker, and
Okay.
I was taking care of their mail. I was living in Phoenix, going out 3 days a week to their house in Goodyear to take care of their mail because my dad stayed with her for 9 months in Charlotte.
Yeah.
In December of 2018, a letter that was 27 pages thick was her November 2018 Medicare statement. It
Okay.
was 52 pages. You open it up, $172,000. I can remember what I was wearing. I can remember the gentleman who went around the corner in the golf cart. He was wearing this horrible plaid shirt,
Yeah.
everything else.
Yep.
I picked up my cell phone and I called my friend Glenn, who was a real estate investor. And he said, next Saturday, we're having a party. Come meet some of my real estate friends.
Yeah.
It started from there. My first real estate investment was in February of 2019, and I've never looked back.
Okay.
I like to, my mentor in my real estate group does notes and
Uh-huh.
bank-owned properties. So
Okay.
that's why I got involved with start wholesaling nationwide. I really enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun.
Okay. So at the time, though, you were a Medicare broker,
Yes.
and you're on a W-2 position, then I assume.
W-2 plus
Okay.
commission. So
Plus
I was
commission.
making good
Hmm.
money, but
Okay.
I had a $8,000 deductible on my healthcare insurance.
Uh-huh.
I just I was I wasn't saving anything. I needed to
Okay.
make a change, and my dad was retired military, so my mom was completely taken care of. But if
Yeah.
something like that happened to me, where would I be? I'd be flat
Yeah.
broke.
Yeah. I mean, to see that amount on a medical bill, that
Yes.
if you didn't have that coverage that took care of that, oh, yeah, that could take out savings. And if you didn't have savings, even worse.
Seriously, a little bit more about the story.
Yeah.
I flew back out to North Carolina for Christmas. I had to be back at work at 6 o'clock on January 2nd.
Okay.
On December 31st, 2018, my mom was on the floor in Pineville, North Carolina. The hospital had 24 people on ventilators. Four family members took their family members off the ventilator against doctor's orders. And the respiratory therapist is in my mom's room, just tears running down her face, going,
Yeah.
those people are going to die. And I'm explaining to her, if you're on an Access Medicare plan, the first of the year, you've got to pay that deductible. Maybe it's $5,000, maybe it's $20,000, maybe it's $18,000. The families
Yeah.
didn't have the money. And I don't think that's fair at all, Zach, that you should die with
Right.
dignity. You shouldn't have to die because you can't afford it. That's one thing
Right.
I would like to change.
Yeah. No, absolutely. To see that in real life, in a situation in which you're watching and you're
Yes,
present, that would definitely be heart wrenching. And to have to explain that to your loved one as well, that's the circumstances in which these people are in. Um,
exactly.
but not wanting to put you ever be in that situation yourself, having to then identify how could you change your situation so that you could impact yourself, but then have opportunities to impact others. So
Exactly.
you went to this group and got involved in selling or wholesaling properties as well as buying notes. And for those that don't understand what that means, actually both. Some people won't understand what that means for
Okay.
wholesaling properties. Give us an understanding of both.
What my Jay Tannenbaum, my mentor,
Uh huh.
he would give us literally their Excel spreadsheets, but they're called
Yeah.
tapes, and you would put bids
Okay.
on them. There were
Yep.
bank-owned properties that might be the first two I bought. One was very rural Vermont. The person had passed away, and the town took it over because of taxes, unpaid taxes.
Uh huh.
My job there was I had to pay the taxes. I bought it from the bank at a decent price. I called the only real estate agent who sold anything on this rural route in Vermont. She knew exactly what property we were talking about, and she goes, "How much do you want to sell it for?" I told her the price. I made $20,000 on the deal.
Yeah.
It's the kitchen was 1950 style kitchen. Nothing had been upgraded.
Yeah.
It's a half an hour, maybe 45 minutes away from Stowe, Vermont. The real estate agent turned it into an Airbnb, leaving the kitchen alone. She's got a
Yeah.
rental property, and she and I are in communication at least once every few weeks. Going, do you have any more properties in Vermont? I'm like, no, that was way too rural.
Yeah.
That's a bank-owned property where the bank has taken it back because the person's passed away. The person didn't pay off
Okay.
the reverse mortgage.
Yep.
A note is when someone can't get their financing from a regular bank, like Bank of America or Wells Fargo.
Yeah.
I take over the mortgage, and they pay me monthly for the mortgage to pay it off. I've had
Okay.
3 notes that have paid me off, and I've
Yep.
had several notes that I've had to either do a foreclosure or forfeiture on, depending on which state you're in. Because if they stop
Okay.
paying, what are you going to do with it?
Sure. Right. So you're able to then take over the property as a bank would in that circumstance.
Exactly. I'm the Bank of Sally, not the Bank of America. The Bank of
Yes.
Sally. Yes.
The Bank of Sally. So then you get the opportunity to then earn the interest as they're paying you the mortgage debt, paying off that debt. Or if in those cases when they weren't paying it, you had to make the decision to foreclose or go to
Correct.
forfeiture of the property. So what happens then with the property? Do you then put it up for sale? Do you put it up for rent? Yeah.
With one property I had in Memphis, Tennessee,
Uh-huh.
we were 17 hours away that was a state that had the forfeiture. Literally, we were 17 hours away of doing the forfeiture, sending out the sheriff's department. They hadn't paid me in 9 months. Everything
Yeah.
shut down because of COVID. Well, when it opened again, the brother got involved, and the brother found an investor. We had to get the gentleman who owned the house sign the land deal because I only have the paper on the house. I don't have the physical on the house. I was able
Yeah.
to sell the note for the actual face value of the note to the
Yep.
investor as is. I still made some money, but for
Okay.
27 months I wasn't paid, so it was
Okay.
a little bit bad, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's understandable. Now, at some point, you are identifying that you are paying more in taxes than you would have desired and started to learn on strategies on how to save money on taxes legally and through methods that have been in existence for a long time. The
Correct.
Spendthrift Trust is something that you have become more educated on and are now helping others to be able to take advantage of. But it is something that, frankly, I was not familiar with at all until we spoke a little bit before. And I
Correct.
know a lot of people have never heard of this topic. So, what
Exactly.
is it? And
Exactly. 97% of the trusts in the United States, if people know about a
uh,
trust, that's
yeah,
only designed to not go to court when someone dies through probate.
sure. Yep.
Um, with my real estate wholesaling, I was using my self-directed IRA, a traditional and Roth IRA, and I
Uh-huh.
was making money wholesaling. In July of 2020, again, Jay Tannenbaum brought the deal of the week to the real estate group. It
Yeah.
was $20,000 for a house in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. When COVID restrictions were lifted, it would go to auction for $50,000.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm all over this. So I had 13 months because it was July and it didn't go to auction until August 28th, 2021. I had 13 months to figure out that $30,000 that I was going to make. I knew capital gains, 23.8%, it would be over $7,100.
Okay.
In my real estate group, Garrett Gunderson is an instructor. He wrote a book called What the Rockefellers Do. I had read it before I joined my real estate group, and I went back to the book and started my background's research. So I'm
Yep.
researching every reference that's in the book, and I found the law firm in outside of Houston, Texas. It's a private
Okay.
law firm that has a patent on this trust. This trust is legal, patented, in the IRS code 643B. Most
Uh,
CPAs only work in the 300 and 400 level.
okay.
And quite frankly, it's in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. I'm in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Only thing I had to do was two bill of sales. One bill of sale from my LLC. I bought it in my LLC. I had to do a bill of sale to me, my name, Sally Gimmon, for $1. Second
Uh,
bill of sale from Sally Gimmon to the trust for $1. Get it notarized, scan them, send them to the attorney in North Carolina. The
yep.
next day, the attorney says to me, I need the first page of your trust. For 2 hours of work, I got to save over $10,000. A house went to auction
Wow.
at $64,000. I would
Yeah.
do a lot more for $10,000 than just do 2 hours of work.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
I became their client, and then
Uh,
I talked to them and said, I'm in a real estate group. I like to sell, be a representative. Had to fill out some paperwork, no big deal. I
yep.
ran a mastermind in my real estate group for 18 months, teaching in my real estate group how to save money. Capital gains, rental income, dividend income, everything else.
Yeah.
I had a falling out, unfortunately, over a deal with a gentleman in the real estate group. I moved to North Carolina,
Hmm.
and I started my own company just a little bit over a year ago, teaching this to other people. People don't realize how much taxes they could be saving with the Spendthrift Trust.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it. So, is this specifically something that individuals who are in, well, like only if an individual's in real estate that they could take advantage of, or is that something that somebody who makes a lot of money in business, or what are some of the other ways that somebody could use this if perhaps they're not in real estate, if there
Correct.
are any?
The overall umbrella is a spendthrift trust and it's divided in half. There's
Okay.
the business trust for 1099 income. My
Okay.
brother has a brewery. I sell online education. Sally sells silver.
Yep.
I have a gentleman who has a pizzeria. He's making 1099 income.
Yep.
That is the business trust. That's going to save you up to 70% of your federal taxes year after year after year after year. Literally
Okay.
yesterday, one of the gentlemen I work with, a business broker, bought the business trust for himself because he's going to save quite a bit of money. I mean,
Uh-huh.
70% of your income, that's a lot of money,
Right.
your federal taxes. Now, the beneficial trust is both trusts are going to save you federal taxes, keep your information private, and keep you from paying any judgments if you get sued.
Okay.
The beneficial trust stops you from paying the following taxes: capital gains, short term or long term. Stop paying interest income if you're a passive investor, a forex investor, BRRRR strategy or notes. Dividend income in the stock market or options
Uh-huh.
trading. Rental income if you have, well, I know you've got how many? 2,200 doors.
Yeah, over 2,000 doors I'm invested in as a passive investor. Yep. And then some.
That is fabulous.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank
So
you.
a passive investor, rental income, short term or long term, and then royalties. Royalties are an artist, an author, or anybody in NFT world.
Yeah.
Once you purchase a trust, you're going to save these taxes every single year after year after year, and then it goes from your generation to your
Okay.
children, your grandchildren, and your great great grandchildren. The
Okay.
Rockefeller Trust has 7 generations long, and have over 400 people under one EIN number. That's what
Oh,
I would
wow.
like to help everybody with, because it's going to people selling a business. If you any business, I just
Yeah.
helped a gentleman sell his restaurant, 42-year-old restaurant in Kentucky. He sold it for $3 million. He saved $460,000. He wouldn't pay those taxes until April 15th of 2024 because he sold it in March of 2023. That's a
Okay.
lot of money for someone retiring.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I sold a business in 2021, and this is something I would have liked to have known about at the time.
Correct.
Uh,
If you don't mind me asking, do you know if you paid 15% or 20% for capital gains?
20%. Yeah,
That's a lot of money.
absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, when you're writing check for several $100,000,
And
it's
zero
definitely
after zero after
yes.
zero. Yes, yes. I mean, on March 15th, I don't answer my phone if I don't know who's calling me. Like I tell them, leave me a message. I picked
Yep.
it up. It was his wife calling me. She knew about the trust. She knew what her husband was doing. She didn't know how much it was. And she's like, I'm 68 years old. Do you know what $460,000 means to me for my retirement? I'm like, I can believe it.
Yeah.
I'm excited for $10,000. I can't
Right.
imagine adding an
Yeah.
extra zero to that. So
Yes. Okay. So, in if somebody decides that this is an option for them that would help in their current circumstances, whether it's 1099 income or passive income or any of those that you described, is this primarily deferring taxes then in perpetuity in a sense because it carries on to the next generation, next
exactly.
generation?
So so
Okay.
so to give you a juxtapose,
Yeah.
when someone talks about 1031 exchange, sooner or later, someone, maybe not your generation, but the
Uh,
generation after you, will have to pay those taxes from the 1031 exchange.
okay.
With the trust, the Spendthrift Trust, it's deferred into I can't say the
In
word, into the
perpetuity.
future, into
Yeah.
the future
Uh-huh.
completely. You'll never have to pay those taxes again. This trust has never been audited. As soon
Uh-huh.
as if it gets
Hmm.
audited, the law firm will represent you free of charge. And as
Yep.
soon as an IRS agent sees it's a spendthrift trust, they will back off. They know they can't audit it right now.
Okay.
It's contract law. You can't break
Hmm.
contract law if that makes sense. Your
Okay.
LLC and your S corp or your C corp, that statutory law that can change.
Okay. Now, I know some people would wonder if they're able to then take distributions from the trust or if there are limitations on that. Are there certain limitations as to what they could receive? For an example, if the person that sold the business after 42 years, are they able to then make use of a large portion of those funds right away, or what type of limitations would they have
Great
to
question.
experience?
When you have the beneficial trust, it covers
Hmm.
everything. In your house, it's going to cover the electricity, the water, the heat, everything else. It's
Yeah.
going to cover the trust owns my car. When
Okay.
you only have the beneficial trust, the three things it does not cover, just so people know this, is food, fun, and fashion for adults. Anybody under the
Okay.
age of 18, it covers for them. But then, just give you an example. I don't own my house. I live with my brother and sister-in-law.
Hmm.
My car is owned by the trust. My
Okay.
car, nothing fancy, a 2015 Nissan.
Yeah.
It's worth $12,000. I can write a demand letter up to $12,000 to cover my food, fun, and fashion. I do have the business trust. I run three businesses through a business trust. So this sounds funny, when I was at Walmart 3 weeks ago, I have a red debit card and a blue debit card. Red
Okay.
debit card paid for the oil change. That's the beneficial Spendthrift Trust. Blue debit card is the business trust. It bought, I'll be honest, my spinach, my frozen
Hmm.
pizza, things like that. But the guy at the cashier is laughing. He's laughing at me because he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Trust me, I know what I'm doing."
Yep.
But worst case scenario, let's say you and your family get this, Zach. You in the morning you stop off at QT gas station. You're going to fill up your vehicle and you're going to buy a corn dog and a soda pop. I just tell
Yeah.
people take a little notebook and write down corn dog, soda pop cost me $5. Then you would do a demand letter against either your home, against your car, or whatever else to cover that $5. And um, it's easy to do. It
Uh-huh.
sounds complicated, but once my clients have been doing this for 2 months, like, oh, I understand exactly what I'm doing. You
Yeah.
have an entire team working with you to get used to the trust, set things up correctly, so you're not working by yourself. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it does. It does make sense, and having that support to create that legal structure that allows you to minimize taxes or defer taxes so that you don't have those expenses, that you can actually experience a better return for your
Yes.
investments, for
Yes.
your work that you're doing right now during this present time, and not just, as you mentioned earlier, the type of trust that avoids going into probate after somebody passes. So I think there's great strategy here.
Correct. My parents have that. The difference
Yeah.
with my parents' trust, when I finish up my dad's 2022 taxes, all the money in that trust has to be dispersed between my two brothers and I, and it goes
Okay.
away. I mean,
Yep.
that's all. I can't continue using his trust. I couldn't put
Yep.
my real estate into the trust. I couldn't do anything with that. This trust, my brother's brewery's in the trust. My
Yeah.
sister-in-law has a landscape design. That's in the trust. All of it is covered. What he does for his breweries in his own silo, I don't know his bank account number. I don't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what I'm doing with Sally Silver and my education, real estate
Yeah.
education, things like this. We're separate. We're under the same EIN, but we're separate bank accounts, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. So then, as a family unit, that sounds like that will then carry on into the next
Yes.
generation. And as you mentioned, the Rockefeller family and 400 individuals under the same EIN. So uh, this is definitely something that, as you mentioned too, that it has been in existence for a long time, but now there are people who are becoming more familiar, and through people like yourself are getting educated and can take advantage of this. And I've known several that I believe also could benefit from what you've described today. So
And Zach, just to let you
yeah.
know, even if it's not right for somebody, I do have an affiliate program. So if
Uh-huh.
someone refers someone to me, let's say, hey, my brother's in crypto, he
Yeah.
needs to talk to you. Whoever refers someone to me, if they buy a trust, I do pay a
Hmm.
JV agreement, $600 for any referral. So it's an extra
Yeah.
stream of income for people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's definitely a value to them, to bring somebody to you, and to you to also help that other
Exactly.
person. So
It's a nice
it
circle.
works. Yes.
Everyone helping everybody.
Yes. Well, let me ask you another question that I like to ask all of the guests that I have on the show. If you were to be handed $1 million today, no restrictions attached to that, what would you do to invest that money in your business or another endeavor, and why?
Every time I sell a trust, to tell you the truth,
Uh-huh.
my mom grew up food insecure in Ireland. So I do make a
Okay.
donation to the St. Mary's Food Bank in her name for every trust I sell.
Yeah.
I would, with $1 million, I would like to get out. I'm doing all my own advertising right now. I would
Yep.
like to get out and talk to more people so more people can start saving money and helping their own families, and then plus help so I can help people. St. Mary's Food Bank is the oldest food bank. It's out of Phoenix, Arizona.
Hmm.
People in the United States shouldn't be food insecure at all. That's
Yeah.
that. So I would like to put it into more advertising so I can help more people and help the food bank more, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it definitely does. I think there is an opportunity to help more people, and I agree that that mission, that vision to help see that people are not food insecure. I mean, that you had
Yes.
mentioned started with seeing and hearing stories from your mother and knowing that there are still people that are experiencing that today, even in the
It,
places in which we live.
exactly. I was just downtown Charlotte today, and
Yeah.
where I was, I did not realize it was a soup kitchen across the street. Like I could see out the
Yeah.
window, and
Hmm.
I can't believe how many people were there getting free
Yeah.
food at 9 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, that shouldn't be happening in
Sure.
Charlotte. That just was so sad.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, helping individuals, how you can change lives. So, now if
Yes.
somebody wants to find out more and would like to reach out to you, what's the best way for someone to connect with you?
Thank you, Zach. My website is thetrustisyou.com.
Okay.
I also have a podcast out there. Zach's going to be the featured speaker this week. It is
Okay.
called Stop Paying Capital Gains Now. I'm on all the social media sites out there with my first name, Sally, my last name, Gimmon. I'm going to ask a favor of your audience. I'm trying to grow my YouTube channel. I've just hit. I want to say I have to go back and look at. I think 180. I'm
Yeah.
trying to hit 200 by this weekend.
Okay. Yep. Okay. So if they want to find out more, thetrustisyou.com,
Correct.
social media, looking up your name, Sally Gimmon.
Correct.
The YouTube channel, is that also Sally Gimmon?
At Sally Gimmon.
Yeah,
Correct.
at Sally Gimmon. So please help Sally. Let's help her reach that goal of
I'm trying to
200
get to 200. Yeah.
subscribers this week.
One thing that just so your audience knows,
Yeah.
I started on YouTube back in December, and I didn't change. It automatically says it's
Uh-huh.
good for children. I
Yeah.
didn't change that until a friend of mine said you need to say it's not good for children. So I'm going
Mhm.
to give you real statistics. Give me 1 second.
Sure.
As of March 23rd, when I made the change, I had 27 people following me. We're
Yeah.
now 6 weeks in, and I am almost at 200. So that
Okay.
one change, and I've told other people this. They didn't know about that simple little change makes a difference on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, what you are teaching is also going to be making a big difference in the lives of many people. So hopefully they can connect more with the YouTube channel as well as directly with you. And
I
so,
appreciate that. Thank you.
yes, absolutely. And thank you again for coming on the show today. I really appreciate the conversation.
I enjoy talking with you. I'm sorry it was a new technology. I had to figure out how to get into it, so that's why I was a few minutes late.
Oh, no problem at all. Thank you, Sally. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you're doing